Welcome to the Sesame Spectacle podcast, first episode. My name is Sky,
And I'm Neil.
and we're going to talk a little bit about, just to start off, um, about why we're doing this, about why we made this podcast, and why we're starting it up. And Neil, if you want to start with your thoughts.
For the longest time now, I've always been, interested in the lore and the history of Sesame Place and Sesame Street Live. And I thought, what better way, to get more information and dive more into the history and start a podcast. And pretty much, I wanted this to be a safe place where people can tell their stories, where we can learn more about the people who did work in the parks and what made it so special. And I also want to give love and highlight all of the important people who have made this park extra special. Because without them, this park wouldn't still be running 40 years later. We're close to their 45th anniversary next year. So pretty much, the main reason why I wanted to do this podcast is because I just want to highlight all these amazing people who have done amazing work in these theme parks and the live shows. And want to give this to the fans. There's a lot of fans that don't know a lot of this stuff. They want to learn more, and what better way than to do it like this? That's the main reason why I want to do this. I want to interview people, maybe some Uppeteers perhaps, some alumni from the theme parks, even the live shows. That's the main reason why we wanted to start this podcast, at least for me. I just want to give love and highlight these amazing people, and just to highlight the park in the live shows, because there's a lot of history with these things. They both started the same year, 1980. I find that very fascinating. That's the main reason why I want to start the podcast, honestly.
Yeah. Well, 1980 was a long time ago, and It's amazing how much, for such a small park, especially when it started out, it's amazing how much history there really is. And I think, at least in comparison to something like Disney or other theme parks, there's somewhat little documentation of the park. And I think the best way to learn about the history is to learn it through the alumni and through people that have been there at all its different time periods throughout the years, whether it's, years ago, 30, 40 years ago, or a few years ago to right now. I think it's cool to hear from people, to hear the history of the park from the people that were there, that experienced all of it, and gave everybody the memories that we have about it. And sort of finally getting to shine the spotlight on them. And I've seen so many, old blog posts, Facebook posts of some of these performers, and they're really good stories out there. There's really good stories, and I know that they exist. And I think this would be such a cool platform to hear the stories finally, because I know we're not the only ones who want to hear them.
Right.
So I think this is a good start.
No, absolutely, man. I can't wait for everybody out there watching to see what we do with this podcast. And I just want to let everybody know we don't know everything. That's the main reason why we started this podcast, because we want to know more. We want to learn and grow. Yeah, that's part of the goal. That's what we want to do with this. So bear with us if we don't get every fact right.
Yes.
Definitely fact check us.
Feel free to correct any of our mistakes, whether it's like a date or anything else. Just
Absolutely.
We're all about just learning everything that we can. About everything.
What you want to do now? You want to dive in more into what the podcast is about, or you want to just dive strictly into Sesame Place lore?
I think we can go right into the lore, maybe, and how it relates to some new developments for this year.
The new entrance, where Vapor Trail opened up. They did the big expansion. That was their last big expansion, from my memory. Yeah,
and it was their last expansion of the entrance too.
Where
it is right now.
The planter has so much park history. So many characters took pictures there for meet and greets.
Yeah.
Obviously you see the topiary with Snuffy, Big Bird, Elmo.
Mm.
It's so iconic. They still have these topiaries to this day. Um, I believe the Snuffy and Big Bird one are sitting in the back in the parking lot. You
Yeah.
can see it when you're driving by.
Yeah, they're all around.
Um, yeah, they're all around. There's
Yeah.
some that they, took the flowers and plants off, and they just have the frame of it, which is still good. They can use that in the future for hopefully the new area that we're going to end up
Yeah.
talking
Yeah, we'll
about.
get more into the topiaries themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is
Mhm.
sort of acted as like the central hub of the park, when you enter. Um,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. As soon as
got
you walk through,
so
that's the
many
first
pictures
thing you
probably
see.
taken right in front of this thing.
So many memories, so many pictures are taken there.
Oh yeah.
Basically, that's the center hub of the park.
Mhm.
Um, so many good memories in that planter. It's definitely going to be missed. Um, it is being replaced by a fan favorite attraction, though.
Yep.
The Sunny Day Carousel is being moved to where the planter used to reside. So basically, seems like Sesame Place is trying to mimic the San Diego park and how their entrance is with the Sunny Day Carousel. I'm curious to know what are your thoughts on the change of the carousel to the new location.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up, going in the 2000s, and this was always just such an iconic thing. So, in a lot of ways, the nostalgic part of me is gonna miss it. But I do know that at least the essence of it and the topiaries themselves and everything, they're still around. They're just gonna be somewhere else. So, in a lot of ways, it's not a complete loss of this sort of thing. But I do
Mhm.
think it makes sense as far as putting any type of ride or attraction towards the entrance. It makes sense for it to be the carousel, because you got Big Bird on top, you got all the characters' faces. It is something that'll over time become a really iconic piece of the park right at the entrance. Um, yeah, and I think it's gonna change the just so much of that whole area, because you'll have lines of people waiting to get on the ride, but then sort of
Mhm.
as soon as you come in, you see Vapor Trail and people having fun there, and then you see people having fun on the carousel, and I think
Mhm.
I think it'll be exciting for
I think you
especially
hit
for
the
younger
nail on the
kids coming
coffin
in
with
and just
that.
seeing
Yeah.
like you know all these attractions just right off the bat as soon as you walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely hit the nail on the coffin with that one, in my opinion. Yeah. There was a lot of mixed feelings on them moving the carousel, but I 100% agree with you. I think it's a great idea. It sucks, change sucks. No one likes change. But I think this is a good change because it's going to bring more attention to that area of the park. Because a lot of people they don't spend time in the center front console of the park. They just immediately go towards the back, and then they disregard the Big Bird's tour bus area and that whole Sesame City area. I do think it's going to be a nice, welcoming addition. It's going to be a lot more vibrant. It is going to be a lot more crowded at the
Yeah.
entrance,
Yeah,
which I
that's
can
what I'm curious
see.
to see. I'm curious to see how they handle the
Yeah,
foot
I want to see
traffic
how they're
over
going to
there.
handle that,
Yeah.
and then that's going to be where the parade comes down too. So
Mhm.
that's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that now. Because that area was already kind of congested. I'm sure it's going to be fine, but the planter will definitely be missed. The tope areas will still be here. Hopefully, they'll move them into other parts of the park. They are supposed to be doing a 3-acre expansion over these next few years.
Yeah. So
So
that's
we'll
just so
see.
much. That's so much opportunity there for
Right.
any type
Yeah.
of expansion.
hmm
You can
Yeah.
never predict how much is going to be added and
Right.
what type of things they
And
have in mind.
just the scenery of the park. The park is going to look a lot more cleaner. And they're adding a lot more things, not just the carousel. During my last visit, I noticed they added on more shading area on the parade route. So that's going to be a lot better for people who come to watch the parade. And it's hot on the
Mhm.
random July afternoon.
Yeah.
At least we're now going to have more shading, it seems like, coming into the 2024 season.
Something I want to add about the carousel
Mhm.
is just that I think putting an attraction like that so close to the entrance, it's also close to the exit. It's the same area, so I
Yes,
think it's a good last second ride to hop on before you leave. So I think
I
it'll
agree.
keep people there, 10-20 minutes longer, just a little
Mhm.
bit, because they can hop on that before they leave, or they can get on that first. And I think it's a good spot to put something like that where it's a small and a casual ride. It's good
Yeah,
before you
it's
exit
really
too.
genius.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
We talked about the carousel being moved to the planter area.
Hmm.
So now let's talk about what's replacing where the carousel used to be.
Right.
And it's being replaced by a new attraction. It's not really an attraction, it's more so a area and space. It's going to be a playground. 123 Playground is coming to Sesame Place. Basically, it is replacing the carousel.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really great idea.
This is a great idea. A lot of parents have been making, their complaints and concerns about a safe space for kids. Because as we all know, Sesame Place wasn't just a regular theme park; it was more of an interactive theme park. So you had a lot of things where kids can touch, they can play, they can explore, and as the years went on, the park kind of drifted away from that type of theme park experience and went towards the more traditional, with more rides, roller
Yeah.
coasters,
Yeah,
stage shows.
you could say it was kind of like, a big science museum, especially really early in the 80s.
I
It
love
started
that.
off, it was like an educational park,
Hmm.
everything was kind of experimental. You were learning, there was a learning element to every piece of the park. There was a
Hmm.
reason everything was there to be educational. And slowly over time, especially as it developed into a water park, as well, it moved towards a more streamlined theme park, and with bigger attractions. Which, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different. But I think a lot of people, especially parents who remember growing up at the park when it was in those earlier days, missed this type of thing. If you remember how much space the nets and climbs took up, for example. There was so much to like physically play on at your leisure that wasn't a line or something you had to wait in line for. So I think this is a really perfect, just central area
Hmm.
where it's hard to even tell from an image like this, but I know it's going to be a very large space, and you can
Yeah.
see the topiaries around. Clearly, they plan on having some of that there. I think it'll just, in a way, I think it's a really cool throwback to the park in its much earlier years.
I
So
couldn't
I'm a big
agree
fan of
more.
this addition,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this.
and it's a
And
great spot for it too. I think it's a great spot.
absolutely, it's in the back area of the park, right in front of the neighborhood, guys. So
Hmm.
pretty much, it's going to be in front of the Big Birds and Bites building, Hooper Store, and Elmo's Pizza Kitchen. I see this being a chill area for parents, which is pretty cool. And it seems like they might be doing more meet and greets in this area.
It seems more realistic to have meet and greets here than at the
Right.
carousel.
And if you guys don't already know, in this general area, it's not shown on the artwork, but Bert and Ernie already do their meet and greets by the rubber ducky in that area. So I'm sure they're definitely going to add more meet and greets in this
Hmm.
general area.
I think there's going to be a
Um,
lot of effort put towards keeping this a very clean area, because so many
yes.
people are going to be in and out and in and out of here. It's
Hmm.
surrounded by the restaurants, so people will bring
Hmm.
food out here. It's definitely going to
Yeah.
get very, very busy in that way. So I think they're going to, I'm sure they'll put a lot of work in making sure it stays looking brand new.
Yes, yes, I'm sure they will. I don't know if you know, but over the past few years, Sesame Place has not been the cleanliness of parks. Actually, at one point in time, Sesame Place was known to be the cleanest theme park in America. Over, like I said, recent years, not so much. But the hope with the 2024 season is, at least with this area, they keep it as maintained.
Yeah, this
Because,
whole area is going to sort of represent
yeah,
how it's going to represent the rest of the park. So because
yes.
it's really in the center of everything here. So I
Hmm.
think if this looks nice, it means everything else will too. And I think it's a good chance, like you said, to just make improvements in every way.
Yep. And for those who were wondering, this area is very iconic. This area was actually the first entrance into the theme park back in its original opening date in 1980. So when you would enter Sesame Place, you were greeted with something like this. You had the sign, you had the turnstiles to walk through, and then when you walk through the turnstiles, you would see this nice little Big Bird stair. This is where the 123 playground is going to be officially in 2024.
Yep.
You have any thoughts on these steps?
Yeah. Well, this used to be the entrance. On this picture here, they filled in his mouth. So it could be sort of a photo area. But this used to be a real long bridge called Big Bird Bridge, and it sort of led you into the park that way, into all the attractions back there. So for many, many years, the 80s, 90s, this was the entrance to the park. And this is, and of course, he's in the same style as the logo, so it was very fitting. Over time they filled it in, so you take pictures here, and then it was just the Big Bird step. And then in 2008 they took them down and put the carousel there.
Yeah, this is actually one of the last images of the Big Bird steps before they removed them. This was taken back in 2006, it seems like. So yeah, this is one of the last few images online.
2008, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's 2008? Oh, okay. Yeah. My apologies.
That's last year. And you can see right on the front where it says photo spot.
It says the Fiji photo spot.
They did photos right in front of it there.
Yeah, the Fiji photos. That's right. Yeah, this is iconic. I remember going back in 06, and I actually got to play on the steps. I only played on the steps one time during my visit, because I was always with summer camps and stuff like that. But these steps were so iconic. I wish around like that time where they were moving it, they could have like thought of another place to put it.
This is one of those things I wish was really still around somewhere, even if not in its same spot, just because of how iconic it is.
So iconic.
Even if they changed the face a little bit or something to make it look a little more like the modern Big Bird logo. Still, this was. But you have to also think about how much space this is taking up.
Yeah.
How much potential there is in that area. So I understand, like, logistically why it would have been moved, because what a huge space. But I think it could have sat somewhere in the corner.
I 100% agree with you. Here's just another photo. When you walk through the. Oh no, this is 2001. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so this is 2001. You can see the nostalgia in the picture. All the flags waving and whatnot. Man, Big Bird's steps. It's definitely a missed not even attraction. It's definitely a missed photo spot. But now we can look towards the future for the all-new 123 playground, which is definitely going to be a welcome addition to Sesame Place in 2024. One thing we want to share with you guys is the old map from Sesame Place. This is how the entire park used to look like back in 1980. As you can see, the entrance is right over here. And then when you walk through the entrance, you were greeted by the Big Bird steps, and just like Sky said, you were able to walk through the steps and you see this long bridge that will connect you to other parts of the park. So as you can see from this image, the park has changed quite a bit from 1980 to 2024.
You can see that whole area back there. Around the number 13 is where the Big Bird Bridge was. And all in the back of Elmo's World, Cookie's Monster Land. That was all the original part.
Yes,
I believe the only thing that's actually the same from opening day is Snuffy's Slide. That's the only part of that area it's the only part of the park as a whole, other than the buildings themselves right there, that has stayed exactly where it's been since 1980.
Yeah, he's absolutely right, guys.
Still breathing. Still there.
The Snuffy Slides, they've been there forever. They don't even allow people to ride them sometimes. I believe that's the back area where they're going to be expanding in the future. I hope that doesn't mean they're going to take those slides down. This area of the park has been there since the very beginning, with so many changes. And as you see from this picture here, they expanded so much more from there. And this is the map from the 2024 Mardi Gras season. So this is how the park looks currently at this moment. You have the Sesame Place store, and then the areas, Sesame Plaza, Sesame City, Sesame Neighborhood. And another thing, guys, with this podcast, we will be interviewing alumni.
Mainly what we're looking for are stories, firsthand accounts of the production, to the degree to which they can talk about it, of course, and just stories that wouldn't otherwise exist publicly. without doing something like this. And I think it's also important to remember, depending on who we're talking to, of course, if it's somebody who performed years ago, meaning like 80s, 90s, 2000s type of era, even if these people have, pictures or videos of them doing stuff, a lot of that stuff is just long gone naturally. Or you don't know where it is. How do you digitize your videos? Where are all your photo albums, so it's definitely don't, expect like a slideshow of someone's work history, because it's just hard to get the pictures, even if they have them. It's just one of those things. But I also think it's important, just generally, while we have the platform, if anyone at all watching has any type of picture or video themselves from their own visit to Sesame Place or to one of these shows, Sesame Street Live and whatnot, that you have or are willing to share, we document all of that, and if it's something that pertains to what we're talking about, we'd love to show some of that stuff. So we're always open to any visual content of the park, especially in the years when it was harder to do that. So
absolutely. So if there's anybody out there that has videos, personal videos or pictures, if you were willing to share with us, specifically from 94, at least from what I'm looking for, from 94 to 97, greatly appreciate it, because I feel like there's so much lost history in that time frame. There's some shows that premiered that there's no pictures of footage of at all.
Yeah, because you know what, it's one of those things where, as in real time, no one was documenting the history of Sesame Place, and I'm sure with Sesame Street Live, same thing. No one was documenting it in real time. So what's happening is we're going back to what naturally exists publicly and trying to use that to sort of, put together some type of timeline. And you'd be surprised how far like one picture can go. Even if you have one little something in the background, it could be it could change part of the timeline. When certain attractions were built or removed, when certain shows started, or what they looked like, or what certain changes to the shows that happened over time. Some of that we just don't know. It just still does not exist. So any bit of information, like Neil said, from those years, from anything from back then, something as small as one picture could be a really big deal for this.
No, absolutely, guys. And you guys can reach us pretty much on Instagram. But yeah, any closing statements you have? We're pretty much reached the end of the podcast. This is our introductory pilot episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we kept you entertained at least.
Yeah, and we want to focus a lot, of course, on having guests and hearing stories. That's the main focus. But of course, there'll be more episodes like this where we talk about something specific. We talk about updates, something modern, current events type thing. Or we'll just go over what we know about the history of something from the past. And between me and Neil, we have so many pictures and videos of everything that I think we can do a good visual representation of what we're talking about as we talk about it. So I think that'll be really cool. But I look forward to everything in the future with the podcast. It's really exciting.
Yeah, guys, I can piggyback off what Sky's saying. I can't wait to see what we do with this podcast, and all you guys interact with us, leave comments, anything you guys want us to talk about in particular. We're open to hearing suggestions.
If you guys want us to talk about a specific show, an era, a part of the park, even something as specific as like a costume or something, like we'll talk about it. We'll go over everything. Absolutely. There's so much to talk about. We're talking like how many years? 40 something? 40.
Well, yeah, 40. Yeah, about 40 years, because Bert and Ernie debuted in 83, right? Yeah, Honker, Bert and Ernie, they debuted in 83. So about 40 years. Yeah, 41 years. They've been in the parks for 41 years.
Yeah, and the park's been open for what, like 44?
Almost 44. Almost
44.
Yep. So 44 in July.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to go over.
So we can talk about all these Muppets behind here. We can go through a costume evolution if you guys want to.
Talk about anything.
We can just have a whole episode about Snuff.
Oh yeah, sure.
And his trip to Sesame Place, and how we want him to be out more.
Yeah.
Find a way. I know he's huge, but find a way.
Yeah, he was reduced to a balloon in the parade for a long time.
And I get it, because Snuffy is a big character.
Yeah, he's a lot of work.
He is very hard to move around, especially with the live show. Like they had to make him smaller in order for him to work on the live shows.
Right, and then it just looks.
Oh Jesus! I don't even want to get started, guys, on that first.
We'll get there.
Matter of fact, let's just show him. Look at him.
Why not? There he is. just
See how
look at him.
small he is. I mean, he's big,
Look him in the
but he's
face.
small. This picture is from the Sesame Street live show, Let's Be Friends. One of my favorite. Such a good show. You have Zoe without her tutu, Elmo, and Big Bird. Actually, one of the better Big Bird designs in the 90s, I must say. And Elmo doesn't look too shabby himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we have reached the end of the podcast. We hope you enjoyed every minute of it. We enjoy talking about everything Sesame Place and Sesame Street Live related. We don't know what the next episode is going to be about. We don't know how we're going to release this either.
Nope.
We do want to let you know is, you guys, we will have guests. We have guests scheduled. We will be talking to some past alumni and current alumni. And we also will be talking about the musical, Sesame Street the musical as well, guys. We're not just strictly keeping it theme park live show related.
Yeah, anything
live entertainment.
Yeah.
So we're
and
going
I'm
to be
sure
diving
to a
in.
degree, the actual show of Sesame Street too.
Right, yeah, we'll dive into the show as well. But we're also going to be talking all things Universal Studios Singapore and Japan. Because they have a lot of Sesame Street history. We're going to talk about Sesame Street in Australia, because they have some live entertainment office in Australia as well. And then we'll dive in a little bit into the Furchesters Hotel Live. Scott, I don't know if you're aware of that. But the Furchesters was a show, a Sesame Street spinoff. That's where Ganga got introduced, and they made a live show of that with the puppets, actually. It's over at Alton Tower at the CBC Babies Land. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that, guys. I just know I'm not from the UK, so I don't know. But I do know it's at Alton Tower. But we're going to dive into all of that, guys. All of that history, all of that knowledge. We're not just going to talk about Sesame Place in PA. We're going to talk about San Diego as well. And SeaWorld. Yeah, I've never been either. And I'm going to be there hopefully sometime this year, more than likely sometime this year, for my first visit. Can't wait for that. But yeah, guys, we hope you enjoyed.
About your trip there. You don't want to hear about it.
I might have to do a live stream while I'm out there. I'm gonna be out there for a few days. I know they've been waiting for me. But guys,
you guys can keep up with us on we have our personal social medias, but we also have the Sesame Spectacle Pod on Instagram, which is where we'll definitely
guys, please follow the pod.
Putting out updates.
All updates. We will be launching the Instagram officially probably today. I'm assuming, so you guys will already know about it before this video comes out. But yeah, guys, we hope you enjoyed this first episode of the Sesame Spectacle podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you.